I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. We are going to hop right in really quick to cover some highlights from yesterday. So, on day two of Sarah Boone's trial, there was a disruption in court. So, I want to play this part right here.
Tax or
Wait a minute. Uh oh. I thought 517. Y'all, I got the wrong place mark. It's 517. I hope y'all are having a good morning. It's right about here. There's some type of disruption that happens in court. And everything is muted, so we can't hear what is happening. We are going to hear something later because there was a reporter there who said something to the effect of a woman said, "Is this the Sarah Boone trial?" And then she said to one of the officers that they should be fired. And then the individual is gonna make some statement to the judge that is very, very strange. Very, very strange. So I think the disruption happens right around here. Something happens in court, and you see Sarah kinda look at the camera and smart. Something happened in court, and the judge is gonna come in and redirect it, but wow. I'm gonna fast forward to the part where because the judge talks to the gallery about appropriate behavior. Because I think he was notified of what happened. And then the judge was gonna let this person stay in court, and I think both the prosecution and defense wanted this individual out of the courtroom.
Letting me know the lay of the land with regard to those specific issues. We're going to bring our jury in momentarily and inquire to staying after 5 o'clock. Members of the gallery, good afternoon. The state is going to continue with their evidence presentation. I know this morning some cell phones were going off, or there was chattering in some cell phones this morning. I'm going to please respectfully request that you turn off your cell phones and not have any correspondence or communications orally amongst yourselves or anyone else in the gallery. I'm not going to allow any outbursts. If you cannot contain yourself, I'm going to ask you now to remove yourself. This is your one and only opportunity. If you cannot control yourself or there are outbursts, I will ask the courtroom deputy to remove you. Does anyone have any questions with regard to the court's instructions? If you're wearing sunglasses, I need you to remove them. Thank you. All right, with that, state anything we need to address before we bring in our panel.
one more thing.
Yes, sir.
And so I think the state and the defense are gonna ask this person to be removed because that's what happens next. I just wanna play that part where the judge comes back.
Good afternoon. After conversing with the state and the defense, they've agreed and asked me to excuse you from this room. I understand that there may have been an outburst by you with courtroom personnel before the judge arrived on the bench this afternoon. If you would like to watch the trial, it is being streamed live. You can head to the 12th floor, get off the elevator, and head to the south side of the building. See the sign where it says Judge Michael Kranick, and it'll tell you which direction to go. You can pick up the phone, call my judicial assistant, Anita Barrios, and she can give you instructions on how to watch this trial virtually. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, I ain't doing it anyway. Okay, God bless you guys.
She said something effective like, "Thank you anyway. God bless you guys."
Well, I ain't doing it anyway. Okay, God bless you guys. I'm still the boss of the city, so we gotta work
I'm still the boss of the city, so we got to work.
together and try to figure it out.
Thank you, ma'am.
And y'all heard what I said. It's Jones your fight. Have a good one.
Thank you.
I'm the boss of the city, and We do not know who this individual was. This was very strange and odd, and if I were there, I would recommend that somebody chat to make sure that this person was okay, because that sounds like somebody who's possibly not connected with reality, possibly a little so sometimes a trial like this can sometimes bring out, like, and so I don't like the word, because sometimes there can be some stigmatizing words, and so to me, I was concerned with this individual's mental health when I heard this. Now, this could just be someone who is like one of those Sarah Boone supporters that wanted to be there. Oh, so did she say I'm from Boston City? So maybe I flew from Boston City. Okay. I thought she said she was the boss of the city. Okay. So if she's just from, because who calls it Boston City? Is that, do people say that from Boston? I just thought they would say, "I'm from Boston." Why would they say Boston City? But I don't know. We are not here to analyze that part. I did just wanna mention the fact that Detective Koepsel, got on the stand and talked about what happened when she got there, and they played the interview with Sarah in the car. And, I did just wanna play 43 23, 5, 43, 23. Because Sarah's behavior during this part, to me, it seemed like she was, I could see some anxiety on her face for this part. They're gonna start playing the car interview.
4th, 2020. The time now is approximately 16:57 hours. This is in reference to Orange County case number 20-017904. I'm currently located in my unmarked vehicle out in front of 4748 Brant Lane, apartment number 3 in Winter Park,
Watch
at the
Sarah.
Tealwood Park Apartments. And also in the car with me, my partner. Sergeant Scott Lowe.
She has this switch she does with her mouth.
In the front seat is, can you state your name, ma'am?
She did like a twitch thing with her mouth, and then she's doing this. And I'm sure her team has played this for her. I'm sure she knows what is coming. And to me, these interviews are not good for her case at all. And I'm glad that they went back and forth for this part. I also hope that the jury noticed her behavior in the interview when the detective played the video for her. So when the detective goes to play her the cell phone video from her phone, she doesn't seem shocked. She doesn't seem like like she doesn't seem phased by this at all, and she actually informs the detective that her battery is about to die, because it is. Her battery is about to die, but, like, she's just so calm about this, like they are talking about something minor, and they are talking about something significant, and so, yes, the entire time, she definitely wanted this interview to stop. I like the way the state laid out their evidence, starting with Juan Torres, getting the neighbors and kind of what was heard. And they are letting the evidence speak for itself. They really are. And I think they are making a very, very strong case. And Sarah did a lot of self-snitching, and it was a lot. And then at the end, the state ends with the identification of, yes, so because the state asks, who was the person that um admitted to zipping George Torres in the suitcase? Who was the person? Like, they go through it, and she identifies Sarah Boone. Oh, all right. Let's see what they're doing today right now. Let's get All right. Okay, so stuff is happening in court. So we are going to switch over to live court. Let me know if y'all have any questions about yesterday, and we will kind of go from there. All right. So we are going to start from right here. Let's go.
I sent these pictures over with the OCSO case number, and then I get a response based on incident dates. So we have to kind of cross-reference. So you can just make the record entirely clear. OCSO incident 18-067501. There was no 911 calls and apparently no objection.
So this is outside of the presence of the jury.
So they have no redactions requested for that 2018 case. Then the next response was 6/15/2019 case. And that, for the record, is OCSO 19-054917. Their request on that one was the 911 call that we just discussed, indicating that at 3:51, well, I had to find it, 3:51, it turns into another case, and to redact that to the end. We agreed. Video 3 in that file, again, no file name, indicates at 9:40 to 9:43, there's a redact request with paren previous arrest. The state agrees to that. We heard her quickly say that at 9:43, and we will get that taken care of. Then their next response was 6/18/2019 case, which I had to cross-reference back to show that it is OCSO 19-055572. And in that particular case, what I sent them was a screenshot that includes the OCSO case number 19-055572, and it indicates there is an intent by the state to introduce 2 911 calls and 1 video file labeled axon_2_video_2019-06-18_1330.
Amanda, thank you. Elaine, your mic. I'm sorry. So, gonna wrap all of that up again. So, with today's schedule, we will be covering Sarah Boone's testimony live. Okay. And but we're going to be redirected to that video. And today Sarah Boone is in court in all black. So she has on a black suit with a black shirt. And I was over on Court TV stream this morning, and people were like, is she in mourning? Or like, so I think Sarah is ready for her day in court, and we are going to cover it live. And so you all will be redirected to that video. I have got to pop my popcorn, and I will be like, it'll be just a few minutes, and we are going to do that live. Ooh, first, we have Detective Koepsel's cross-examination after they finish this portion that's outside of the presence of the jury. But I did want to make that note. We are just a few minutes behind live court, but that is what we are doing for today. All right, let's get back into this.
My response that I received from them was video 3 in file, 2 minutes 7 seconds to 2 minutes 18 seconds paren ID. And then video 4 in file, 2 minutes and 4 seconds to 2 minutes and 16 seconds.
It was so good.
ID.
Like I said it better the first
So
time.
my confusion lies in I did not indicate 3 or 4 files. It was just 1 file. And then again, with the other 2.
I don't want to address 4 and 5 yet.
Okay.
It's my understanding there's no response. We'll address that momentarily. Responses to the clarification as to what it is the state seeks for incident 3.
No redaction.
Okay, all right. With regard to incidents 4 and 5, Mr. J, could you place on the record what it is specifically as to those incidents the state may be seeking to introduce?
Yes, sir. So what we're calling incident number 4 should be OCSO 19-078009, August 28th, 2019. We indicated the desire to use axon _flex_2_video _2019-08-28 _2024. And then at their request, they had desired to get photos of Ms. Boone's injuries from that case. There is a 19-page PDF file, which has pictures taken by law enforcement of her injuries. I don't see anything else in.
I forgot to show at the end of the hearing from yesterday. I will go ahead and go back to this because they're just kind of doing some housekeeping. That Owens pats Sarah on the back vigorously to get her to stand up. A lot of people mention that, and so let me see if I can get to that part. It was right before they stood up for the jury. Okay, let's play from here.
Recess for this evening. We will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. And again,
But Owens stood up fast, I think. Like, I think Owens might be a little controlling as well, or I don't, because to me, Sarah wasn't, it wasn't that she wasn't going to stand up, but I don't know.
I thank you for your attention and your sacrifice in this matter.
Because to me, he was getting her to stand up kind of early. And so, yeah. So I do think Sarah does have history of injuries from incidents between her and George. I don't know that her injuries tell the entire story, but it is what it is. He didn't deserve what happened to him that day. In her own words, they were having a good day and things were better. That's what she said. So
One picture of Mr. Torres, a couple pictures of Mr. Torres, but nothing that the state was objecting to. So that was at their request that they wanted photographs
Okay.
in. So that is incident 4, which is labeled OCSO 19-078009.
So this comment says, Joel from Surviving a Survivor said he thinks it was a local woman known to the court as a disruptive individual, maybe some mental health issues. Like it sounded like a delusion to me. Like that's what it sounded like to me. I have been yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
With regard to seemingly the body-worn camera that the state seeks to enter into evidence from August 28, 2019, what say the defense?
Judge K is amazing.
John, I don't know about the state's position on this. There's a portion of this video at the very end that's very personal to the investigating officer that they may want to redact. We're not asking them to redact.
Is the state seeking any redactions?
I'm just clarifying what their redaction requests are.
So if you go back to earlier in the video today, so I played it. There was a courtroom outburst from yesterday. So on day 2, there was a courtroom outburst. It wasn't, so something happened outside of the presence of the judge. It's my understanding because there was a reporter that talked about it. Let me pull up that tweet. Let me go back. So Stephanie Buffamonte, sorry if I'm messing that up. A woman in the courtroom yelled out, "Is this the Sarah Boone trial?" And then when the deputy brought Sarah Boone in after a lunch break, the woman said, "Deputy, you should be fired." So, and then Sarah asked the deputy who the woman was and then kind of smirked. So that was reporting from I think she's from I think she's a news reporter. So that's what happened yesterday. Okay.
On that particular file.
Okay.
If they don't have any, then
So are there any redaction requests with regard to that particular file? Okay. I'm just keeping notes. Give me a moment, y'all. As to the fifth incident, Mr. J.
No redaction request, Your Honor. I do want to point out that we were apparently advised yesterday that the state was only going to use the third video possibly. And so we haven't really spent a whole lot of time worrying about it since then.
Let me clarify as to what the fifth incident is, just so that we're all on the same playing field.
Judge, the fifth incident is OCSO 19-079759, and that was on September 4th of 2019. Within that screenshot that I sent to them, Friday and then resent it this morning.
I'm gonna do this at 1.25 speed.
Was photographs of the defendant taken at that time at their request. It shows a cut in her ear. It's 3 photographs. Then there is also one body worn camera labeled 1924755. Oh, strike that. 192473549_GEN_INV. And then the 911 call from that incident.
Any redactions sought by the defense with regard to that specific body worn camera or 911 call?
We're not necessarily seeking redaction, Your Honor. However, there are 2 separate videos. One seems to focus on Jorge Torres, one seems to focus on Ms. Boone, and there is clearly some redundancy. They're both body cams. One went upstairs where Mr. Torres was found hiding in a shower or bath. And so some of that's redundant. So there are actually 2 separate videos.
I'm doing my Boongo cards, and I have a
Mr.
Sharpie.
J, are there 1 or 2 videos that the state's seeking?
There's one, the one that I listed.
Okay. Do you know if that's Bruce, can you find out what counsel's here for? Is that the video from the perspective of, as identified by Mr. Beck, one more geared towards Ms. Boone or one more geared towards Ms. Torres?
My interpretation of both of them is there's interactions with Ms. Boone, and then there's interactions with Mr. Torres upstairs after he's located.
Mr. Beck, the specific file number was identified. So just to confirm, no redactions? Okay, all right. So just as a recap, with regard to the first incident, the 911 call, parties have agreed to redactions at the timestamp of 351 towards the end.
I also just want to mention they are keeping a phenomenal record. Are we okay with skipping parts of this? We're going to skip ahead a little bit to see what happens.
Copy of what it is that you were actually looking to move in, those 12, 14, 15 pages. Okay, if you could provide that to them by noon, I would appreciate it.
I'm not sure if it's, that's what I'm saying.
But if it's going to be moved into evidence, we have is it going to be moved in paper form, or is it going to be moved in digital by virtue of a CD?
Does the defense have it?
We can get it, Judge. We'll work on it.
Okay, perfect. Just get it to the state. It doesn't have to be intangible. Just get them what it is that if it's an electronic format, that's fine. Just the state should be entitled to know what it is that y'all are intending to move out of those pages just to confirm it. Lastly, with regard to hospital records of the victim, I know there were conversations, discussions about that list being narrowed down. The state has advised that details as to those narrowed down records has not yet been provided. What say the defense?
They were supposed to do that last week.
For the victim, Jorge Torres.
It's my understanding.
They were supposed to narrow it down to just
We
the
need to do that,
summaries.
Judge. We've got to do that.
Okay.
We've yet to do that. They haven't narrowed it down to just the summaries and the blood alcohol content. They were told to do that Was it Friday? The days like this went so fast. I thought that was Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the judge said by Friday they needed to give that to the state.
My understanding is that the experts are potentially teed up to testify tomorrow. I don't recall if those records are a basis of the experts' opinions.
The second expert is not likely to testify until Thursday. She's testifying in Bay County tomorrow. I will be here Thursday. And I spoke with Dr. Brandon last night. He will be present tomorrow morning as soon as he gets here from Coral Gables.
Did either doctors Brannon or Harper rely on those medical records?
Dr. Harper did. It's in her deposition that was taken a couple of weeks.
This defense team, oh my gosh. So I don't know how the communication is between all three of them because it's almost like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And I'm not a big analogy person, but it fits. Like what in the world?
Weeks ago, I think the question was posed.
Ms. Perez, good morning. If you're here for pretrial, 19 Alpha, Judge Myers is covering. Okay, thank you. You may continue.
Dr. Julie Harper, I know she considered the records of Jorge Torres, and we took.
So it's not coming into evidence if y'all don't narrow it down.
She was asked by the state about everything that she relied upon, and she did indicate that. Are we going to use or attempt to introduce those records?
Are you?
We'll pare it down if we are.
Okay, you've got till 5 p.m. today to advise the state as to what of those culled down records you're going to be utilizing. So they have the opportunity to review those in advance of Dr. Harper testifying.
I apologize to Madam Court Reporter for speaking on top of each other. Dr. Brandon has testified as a subject matter expert. We have specific familiarity with this case. And so there are no medical records or any other records that he has relied upon.
I am excited for the expert testimony. Tomorrow, I have clients all day, so I will not be streaming tomorrow, but I will catch up on Thursday. So if we do get to expert testimony tomorrow and Thursday, I will be covering that on Thursday. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Okay, all right. State, any other issues we need to address with regard to the discovery issues that you brought to the court's attention this morning?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Moving now to the motion. I have reviewed that motion.
Judge, we were not aware of the motion until he made mention of it, so we need some time for the.
He has some nerve. He filed a motion at I think it was this case at 5 p.m. and it was court at 6 p.m. So, okay. Okay, Mr. Owens. Okay.
Lawyers to review it, for us to discuss it, and to see whether or not it has merit or not.
Okay. It was e-filed last night, looks like 9:37, and then sent courtesy copy to myself through Ms. Barrios and you, Mr. Owens, at 9:38 last night. I'll give the opportunity to review that. We can address it after the lunch hour. And that'll give the court the opportunity to do any research during the lunch hour on it as well. All right. Anything else, Mr. J?
What was the
I
motion?
looked at it briefly. I'm not for sure exactly what the allegation is. I don't know if we need to talk about that. So just.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can.
I'm not.
Can we approach the bench?
Sure. Come on up, yo.
Come on up. Come on up. So I'm going to try to see if I can find the motion that they are talking about. My Orange County clerk, I think that's what it is. They post everything. And so let's search for records. Record search. Sarah Boone. I am not a robot. I hate robot tests, but I promise I am not a robot. Her open case. Let's go ahead and share this tab. Okay. So it might not be e-filed yet. I don't see anything e-filed yet. Okay. We can skip ahead a little bit.
with regard to that motion, we're going to table that for now and address it potentially this afternoon. State is advised they're ready to proceed. Mr. Jay shook his head yes. Defense, you ready to proceed? Mr. Owens, you ready to proceed, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
I hate the ones where
Ms. Boone, are you still satisfied with your lawyer's representation of you in this matter?
Absolutely.
Are you still on board with the strategy that they have employed in the use of your defense?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and stand and bring in our panel.
I don't even know if she's aware that those questions are so that later she can't say, I had ineffective assistance of counsel. I despised their strategy. I wanted to take the plea deal, or the judge is getting everything on the record because of her history of, in my opinion, having an interesting perspective. I'm trying not to say lying, but I think it might be just lying. She has a history of saying the lawyers didn't do this or they did this. And she's accused lawyers of unethical behavior. And the lawyers are like, I didn't do that. And so Judge Kranick is doing a phenomenal job with this. All right, let's keep going. Bringing in the jury. She's looking down at all of her papers instead of looking at them. She's saying a prayer? What is going on? That's interesting. Okay, now she's looking at them. Okay. Huh. Wait a minute. I'm gonna go back. So y'all know my feelings about Sarah Boone. I'm not a fan. It was almost like she was preparing herself and then she turned it on. That's how I feel about it. Y'all tell me in the chat how y'all feel about it. That seemed a little performative to me.
Jury entering.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. That's how it felt to me. It felt very performative. Ooh, somebody's here and I have some East Coast. Sorry, West. Oh my gosh, it's too early for me. West Coast people. 6:30 a.m. Oh my. Thank you for being here.
Seated, thank you. Members of our jury, good morning. Welcome back to 12 Alpha of the Orange County Courthouse. Thank you again for your time, your attention, and your sacrifice in this matter. Just by a show of hands, if you could confer that you complied with the court's instructions last night. The record will reflect all juror members have raised their hands. State, if you could please recall Detective Koepsel.
State would call Detective Koepsel.
Koepsel. I've been saying it wrong. I've been saying Koepsel. Koepsel. My bad. Koepsel. Oh, I didn't know you were West Coast, Sarah. Seattle, welcome, welcome. She is, we've had some there have been some really beautiful people in this trial. So we only say positive things about the witnesses. She looks nice.
Ma'am, good morning again. Could you state and spell your name for the record?
Chicago?
My name is Chelsea Koepsel, Chelsey, Koepsel.
Mr. Cacciatore, you may proceed.
Your Honor, we had tendered the witness to the defense.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Henderson, you may proceed with any cross-examination.
Ross. I love
Good
her
morning, ma'am.
facial
Good
expression.
morning.
Now, it's my understanding that on February 24th of 2020, you responded to this crime scene. Is that correct?
As she said.
Yes.
Were you the first officer to respond to the crime scene?
No.
So there were other officers who were there prior to you arriving. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Kayla
Were you the
Rodriguez.
first detective to respond to the crime scene?
Myself and my partner, we all arrived at the same time because we left from the same location at the same time.
Okay, and who is your partner then?
Detective Scott Lowen.
And throughout the whole time, you and Detective Lowen worked on this case together, is that correct?
Yes, he
Oh.
assisted me with this case.
Oops, I've been spelling it wrong too.
Now, when you arrived on the 24th, approximately how many other officers were there?
Including like deputy sheriffs, like in uniform?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Oh, approximately 4, maybe, I would assume.
Had it been designated a crime scene at that time, and had tape or security measures been taken to protect the scene?
Yes, they had.
So that had already been done by the time that you arrived, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, in the investigation, one of your, or what you're trying to accomplish in the investigation is basically get a basics of what took place.
Yes.
Would you agree with me there?
Yes, I would.
And you can do that one or two ways, or a combination of ways. One is to take testimony of potential witnesses, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. On this day, did you in fact do that?
Yes, I did.
And one of those potential witnesses was Sarah Boone, is that correct?
Yes, it was.
And you took a statement from Sarah Boone because we've all seen it, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, we have.
And at that point in time, Ms. Boone did not have to talk to you if she didn't want to.
Correct. She had the right to remain
No,
silent.
she did not.
So she agreed to talk to you at that point in
Yes.
time.
Yes, she did.
Okay. Were there any other witnesses besides Ms. Boone that you talked to on this initial date of the 24th?
Yes.
Just Brian Boone.
And Mr. Boone told you what, you had a chance to talk to him. He told you his involvement. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, wasn't Mr. Boone's testimony, was that recorded too?
Yes.
I conducted an audio recording. Yes.
Is that standard procedure when you do your interviews to try to record the interviews?
Yes.
What's the benefit of that?
You have it.
So I know what was said.
Okay. So, and if something goes on for a long time.
So I know what was said. Oh, everybody else did a better job answering their mundane and ridiculous questions. Oh gosh. So if you have Detective Koepsel annoyed on your Bungo card, you can go on ahead and you can scratch that one off.
Time you can refer back to it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and out there, that's part of talking to witnesses or potential witnesses. Okay. Also, it's your job too to identify potential physical evidence in a case.
Yes, it is.
All right. And in fact, on the 24th, did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you have anyone assisting you in doing that aspect of it?
Yes. Crime scene investigators and digital forensics investigator.
All right. And was Miss Melissa Rofengarden, that's how it's pronounced? Pronounce it for me.
Rough Garden.
Rofengarden. Okay, thank you.
I think he's still
Did she help you in that area?
She was the lead crime scene investigator. Yes.
Okay. So were y'all walking around together? Give the jury an idea of how that process takes place, please.
So yes, when I initially arrived on scene, I introduced myself to Sarah Boone and explained that I wished to go inside her residence, which she gave me consent to go in and look around. I went in, looked around, and then when my CSIs arrived, they would go in, take pictures, and then I kind of leave them to do what they need to do as far as taking pictures and documenting things and measurements. And then that's when I conducted my interviews. And then I would meet back up with my crime scene investigator after interviews were conducted, to kind of follow up with like things that I was told that would help us like identify things from the scene. And so, I mean, there's like multiple occasions where I would have met with my crime scene investigator inside the residence.
So this is an ongoing process doing that thing. You get information, you consult with them, they have information, they consult with you, and you're making a determination of what potential physical evidence that y'all at least like to document by camera, correct?
Yes.
Pictures, or actually collect and take away. Is that correct?
Yes, that's accurate.
In that case, the suitcase was some evidence that y'all agreed on that we need to take this suitcase from the
Yes.
scene. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. How about the baseball bat? Was that done that day?
The baseball bat was collected. Yes.
All right. In your viewing of the suitcase, did you view the suitcase while it was unseen?
Yes, I did.
All right. Did you notice that if there was any items, other independent loose items in the suitcase,
Okay.
There were. Yes.
were those items collected?
How is this helping the defense? But I'm gonna let him keep going. I don't know how these questions are helping the defense, but okay.
Some of them were. Yes.
Who made the determination what items of that suitcase would be taken or collected and what would not be collected?
I would say that I have the final say on what is to be collected or not collected, but we do discuss it together to make that determination for me to give the final yes or no.
Do you recall which items you decided to collect from the
Your water.
suitcase?
Do you have the property form that I can refer to?
No, I'll try to find.
I know some of them, but
And your mouth gets dry when you're up there talking. She has amazing hair. I think Sarah is like jealous of her. I don't know.
Ma'am, I don't have it, but to the best of your memory, can you tell?
Why?
And I would understand there would be some stuff that if you had the property report to refresh your memory, you can give me more detail.
yes, to my understanding and to my recollection, we collected things that had blood left over on it. I want to say there was like a necktie potentially. I do recall there being a small amount of clothing and miscellaneous paperwork, but I do not think that we collected the paperwork. There was also a cell phone in there. It was not,
Operation.
it was dead, the cell phone. And then, like I said, there might be one, I think we collected 5 to 6 items from the suitcase itself, but obviously the property form would tell you specifically, but that is what I recall.
Correct, and I understand, and that's fair. Okay, so potentially you collect these items because you believe they're evidence for the case potentially, is that correct?
Yes,
And some of these items you actually collect with the potential that you might need to have them examined in greater detail. Is
Sure.
that correct?
yes.
An example of something like that would be in this case, if you found blood on something, you might want to potentially.
She literally just said that.
Yes.
And also the stuff that you're learning outside of these items also helps you in making that determination. Isn't that correct?
Sure.
I'm sorry, one more time.
The stuff that you learn, the information that you're getting or you're receiving about what happened at that time will lead you to determine what items might need to be collected and what items might need to be tested.
Sure.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So out of the items that were collected,
So I think she's aware that her facial expressions can like you can tell what she's thinking by looking at her face. And so I think she's intentionally softening her face because she did not control or manage any of that when it was just the judge, her prosecution and defense team. So during the motions hearing when she testified, she showed a lot more like when she was asked a silly question, like to me she didn't manage it as much and I was wondering how she would do in front of the jury because sometimes the jury can take that attitude like they can take that negatively, but she is being asked really basic questions and But I think he's laying a foundation of something, and I don't. He said 30 to 45 minutes. Are we going to be here for an hour?
At the house or the apartment, at those items, was anything to your knowledge sent off for further examination?
Yes.
I believe so, but if it was, there would be, they would be sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for further testing.
And do you have an independent memory of what items
No.
that were collected from the house that were sent to
Maybe the
FDLE
suitcase.
for further examination?
I don't recall specifically without looking.
Okay. Now, are you aware?
He had all night to prepare what he was going to cross her with. It might have been a good job to, like, if he was going to ask her these questions, to have the property sheet ready. In my non-lawyer, just observer opinion.
There,
Oh,
at one point in time, there were some fingernail clippings or fingernail swabs taken from Miss Sarah Boone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, that was done on her interview date on the, would have been the 25th.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what we witnessed in the video.
Yes.
That's what they were doing at that time. And I'm sure at the autopsy, which you were present at, is that correct?
Yes.
And those, there would have been some fingertip swabs of Jorge Torres. Were you familiar with that?
They do swabbing of the hands, to my understanding, and
we've already talked to the DNA expert. Okay, but we're going to keep going.
clippings of his nails.
Okay. Do you have an independent memory of the fact that Sarah Boone's fingernail swabs were sent to FDLE for comparison?
I would believe so.
Okay. How about the ones from Mr. Torres? Do you have knowledge that those were sent to
I thought the
FDLE
DNA expert testified to that.
for identification?
Well, they would have come from him, so I'm not sure what we would have compared him to.
Okay. Were they there to see, or at least they're sent there to see if they can extract DNA?
Oh, okay. Yes. I mean, I'm not sure if they did that testing for his nails clipping specifically, but it would be in the report if so.
Okay. Who would make the decision about sending his finger swabs to FDLE for comparison or evaluation?
But don't forget, Sarah Boone is the one who said we were having a good day. We were just playing games. And oh my gosh. But the DNA expert testified to some of this, I thought.
Question.
I would request it I would request it to the crime scene investigator, and she would author the, I guess, procedure for them to do so.
Okay. And then as to Sarah Boone's swabbings, who requested that those be sent to FDLE for evaluation?
Again, I would assume that I would have done that. I would have requested the CSI to do that.
Are you aware of the results from those evaluations? I'm not asking you for the results, just if you're aware of the results.
I believe I'm aware, but would love to see a report before I specifically answer.
Yes, I'm not going to ask you a specific question about it, okay? But basically, you're aware that it was done, the procedure was done.
Yes.
The analysis was done. Okay. Now, ma'am, so you're through the first day. Then we get to the second day, which would have been, I believe, the 25th of February. Is that correct?
Yes.
And on the 25th of February was Mr. Torres's autopsy done.
I believe so. I think she
Yes, it
mentioned
was.
in
Were
the
you
interview.
present during the autopsy?
She's
Yes,
already
I
answered
was.
this. She already answered that.
And
3 times.
did you communicate with the medical examiner at that time?
Yes, I did.
During the during the course of things, is that where you found out through the medical examination,
The cause of death.
examiner at the autopsy that there was blunt force trauma injuries?
Yes, that is where I learned more about his injuries.
Now, initially, when you were on the scene on the 24th, did you view Mr. Torres's body?
Yes, I did.
Did you notice in and of yourself on your own something that caused you concern that there might be blunt force trauma injuries?
Yes, I noticed injuries to him. Yes.
Okay, so after the autopsy, you had additional information, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Now, there was an interview, well, I don't know if it was an interview, there was a meeting set up for Sarah Boone, is that correct?
Yes.
On the 25th, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me how that meeting was arranged or how that meeting was set up?
They asked her to come in.
So either before I left the scene, the night of the incident, I obviously met with Sarah and told her that we were leaving. We had to go make next of kin notification. And I would have either at that time said I would like to meet tomorrow and arranged it then, at least to like let her know that I would like to meet after the autopsy. And then obviously from watching the video towards the end, she said something about like recalling a conversation that we had, like calling me. So there may have been a phone conversation that occurred later that evening where I either would have confirmed the time or told her the time then. I just don't have that like on an audio. But I know it either took place before I left the scene because I obviously would have, said my goodbyes and told her, hey, we're leaving. We're going to make next of kin notification. She was very concerned about that. So I would want her to know.
And let's not forget that she was pregnant. Like she was growing a whole person. Does that like at this time? And I don't like when you being pregnant and doing things and remembering things. So children suck your memory. like the more pregnancy brain is real. And then mom brain is real, parent brain. So you have to make sure to take care of your mental health when you're a parent because it can be hard to, especially like things late at night. She seemed I don't know how far along she was, but further in pregnancy, sometimes it's harder to sleep. So you're getting up multiple times to use the bathroom, like all of that. So I don't blame her for not remembering exactly what if she did call. It would have been nice to document that if she did have a call with her that night. It would have been nice for her to have written it down or to have documented that. But okay.
That we were doing that. So it either took place then or it took place on that phone conversation that we had.
All right, the day prior to that, on the 24th, ma'am, you received Sarah Boone's phone, is that correct?
Yes, her phone was on the scene, yes.
And when you received that phone, Sarah Boone had
Are we going back to the fact that Sarah went there to try to get her phone back? Because there's a lot of evidence on that phone. Is that what we want to plant in the jury's mind? That Sarah was concerned about her phone after being involved in the death of her boyfriend?
given you that phone, is that correct?
No, she was not allowed in the apartment to give me the phone.
I'm sorry, did she give you permission to take the phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, is that correct?
Yes, I was given permission to go through her phone, yes.
Because at that time, you hadn't applied for any type of search warrant to get or search the phone.
Correct.
Correct.
No, it was based off of consent.
Okay, so she had consented to you for you to have her phone.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that correct? She also provided you the code to get in the phone. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So at this point in time, Ms. Boone is cooperating with you, isn't that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
She was very cooperative.
Now, ma'am, do you recall telling her, Ms. Boone, that she could get her phone back the next day?
She doesn't remember.
I don't recall specifically telling her when she would be able to get her phone back, but I did say something along the lines of we were now going to be taking the phone. I obviously had digital come out or consent to go through her phone. There was evidence on her phone that I needed to be downloaded. And at the time, I was willing to give back her phone before going through it. And then once we had gone through it, and those videos were found, I felt like this was very different, and it changed my perspective on consent. And I decided at that time that it was best to write a search warrant. So consent couldn't be basically like I knew I was going to take her phone. So consent has to be basically given to me throughout the entire period. So she would have had no way to contact me to tell me she no longer consented. So therefore, because there was evidence on the phone, I took the phone. Basically, I potentially told her, maybe we didn't get a full download. I may have said something along the lines of that. As far as me taking the phone, and then I wrote a search warrant. I either started writing the search warrant the night of, but it wasn't signed until I didn't submit it until the next day. And then it was signed the next day on the 25th.
So basically what you're telling us is that she could have withdrawn her consent at any time
She could have.
prior to that search warrant being received. Is that correct?
Well, while I was on scene, but at the end of the day, there was evidence on the phone. So I knew I could I knew I could get a search warrant to go through the phone based off there being evidence. Like the 911 calls, and her explaining to me that they had spoken to family members.
Please silence your cell phones.
Since they had explained to me that they spoke with family members the night prior. So I wanted to obviously corroborate her statement. So I knew that I would be able to get into the phone through a search warrant. But yeah, she could have not consented, and she could have not signed the paper consenting while we were on scene.
But before you left scene, you knew that Sarah Boone was not going to get that phone back. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So when Sarah Boone called you the next day, asking you about bringing her phone back,
The police are allowed to trick you. They are. This is why number one, we don't do crimes. Number 1, 2, and 3, don't do crimes. And then if you're asked for a lawyer, if it's a situation that could result, ask for a lawyer. Okay.
did you just tell her, Ms. Boone, you're not getting your phone back?
There was not a conversation about her not getting her phone back. She may have inquired about her phone, and I would have explained that we will talk about it when we meet that afternoon.
So
Do crimes. Don't record your crimes. Don't lie about crimes. Like, just don't.
did you reach out to Ms. Boone that next day, or did Ms. Boone reach out to you?
I don't recall a specific, if she reached out to me the night of the 24th or before the interview on the 25th. I don't have my call records for that. I'm just basing it off of the interview where she had basically said that, yeah, I have your business card and I can contact you like I did. So my assumption would be that we did have some sort of conversation either the night of the 24th or before the interview on the 25th.
On the 25th, did you make arrangements with Sarah Boone to meet with her on the 25th?
Yes.
So I either made arrangements on the 24th with her before leaving the scene, and I would have told her I would like to meet with you the next day, or I said, and I may have given her a
So that smile she gave him was, do you not understand? Because she's explained this so many times. And okay.
specific time at that moment, or when we spoke.
I wonder if he's trying to upset her to discredit her. Y'all, I think he may be intentionally trying to, I don't know this, so this is all my thoughts and opinions. Is he trying to upset her so that she looks less credible? So she looks like she had it in for Sarah from the start. Sarah never had a fair chance. Is he trying to because the Detective Koepsel, she can be fiery, but she is doing a phenomenal job, I think, because I might have done a long blink or something dude. And she's not being rude about it at all, I don't think.
Later that evening on the phone, I may have confirmed the time or given her a time then, but she definitely knew that we were meeting at 3 p.m. on the 25th at Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations.
And ma'am, you just don't remember at what point in time you informed her to set up this meeting?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
It's one or the other.
One or the other?
Yes.
Okay. As to it being one or the other, you did you prepared the investigative report in this case, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And the investigative report you basically summarized everything that took place on this case, up to a certain point.
Yes,
Is that correct?
it was a summary. Yes.
All right, as far as evidence, as far as witnesses who were talked to and synopsis of what they said to you at that time, is that correct?
Yes, things that I did specifically. It was a summary of that.
I found your investigative report to be in great detail because it helped me track this case from basically beginning to not to the end, but to the point where the inquiry stops. And it seems like in your investigative report, you are very thorough about details. Is that correct?
I think he's trying to get to the fact of like, why was this part left out? But to me, when she called her in for the meeting, that's trivial. I don't think that's as important as everything else, the evidence in the case. I personally don't think that's important. I don't.
I would say I'm a detailed person. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so being the detailed person you are, and absolutely doing your law enforcement training, they tell you, they train you that your report should be very much in detail. Is that correct?
And it is
Yes.
Okay, because you might have to refer back to them at a later time. Is that one of the reasons? Is
correct.
that correct?
Yes, and to prepare myself for depositions and trials.
Okay, and just to give an accurate picture of what you did and what took place and what people told you. Is that correct?
Sarah, we're all trying not to.
Okay. Being as thorough as you are with these contacts with people, I didn't see in the investigative report when the arrangement was made with Sarah Boone to meet you down, and where did y'all meet?
The Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Operations.
All right, to meet you at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I did not see that in the report. Do you have an explanation why?
It's not typically something I would put in my report.
Okay. Do you remember in having the conversation with Ms. Boone about this meeting that was supposed to take place?
We've already covered
that-
this.
You said that you could not return the phone to her that day because you were not feeling very good. You remember telling her that?
That never happened.
Okay. Ma'am,
That never happened.
Judge, if I could have a moment.
Yes, sir. Of course.
That never happened.
Yes, I was.
Okay, I gotta go back. And we're at 1.25 speed.
Ma'am,
Okay.
during this time frame, were you pregnant at this time?
Okay.
At that time?
Yes.
Yes, I was.
All right. Well, anyway, Ms. Boone, there was
There
a
are women on the
meeting
jury.
arranged. Is that correct?
Yes.
For the 25th at 3 p.m. Yes.
Yes, and Ms. Boone showed up for that meeting.
She did.
25th.
Yes.
We saw it. Okay. Now, ma'am, I'd like to talk to you about some other investigation. On
Oh,
witnesses.
so I don't know. Cause I think Chelsea, so I haven't went over this part, but she has like a Brady thing or something. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to bring up.
Other witnesses that you took their testimony or
Oh, no,
statements
This
recorded
is just
statements
stuff with Sarah.
Okay. Do you remember Abraham Marino?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take his recorded statement?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
All right. At the time that you took Mr. Marino's recorded statement, was there anyone else with you?
My partner.
My partner should have been with me, Detective Scott Lowen.
Excuse me?
My partner should have been with me, Detective Scott Lowen.
Okay.
Now we're going to Abraham's.
See, as to who was with you, would it help refresh your memory if you were to see your investigative report as to that interview?
Sure.
Your Honor, I would object. She hasn't said that she needs any aid in refreshing her memory.
Objection sustained.
Ma'am, was Detective Scott Lowen with you during that interview?
I think.
Yes, I believe so.
May we approach?
Yes.
Okay. Was he not?
Scott Lowen.
I'm going to go back.
Ma'am, do you have an independent memory of Detective Scott Lowen being with you at that interview?
I believe my partner was with me on the interview. Yes, I typically wouldn't go and do some follow-up without my partner being with me.
Thank you very much. Now, ma'am, did that interview, what date did that interview take place on?
And there's a recording, and on the recording, she says who's with her for that interview. I do not remember his, but for every one of them, she says who's with her, who all is present for the interview in the recorded one.
I believe the 26th, February 26th of 2020.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Ma'am,
her
was that
first name.
interview
That's her first
recorded?
name.
It was audio recorded.
Was the entire interview audio recorded?
Yes, the entire interview was audio recorded.
We need to play it.
Ma'am, are you familiar with a witness by the name of Brandon Moats?
Yes, I am.
On February the 27th of 2020, did you interview Brandon Moats?
If you tell me I did.
I believe so. It was either the 26th or 27th. Yes.
All right, coming again, object, she hasn't indicated.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll go back.
If you were to see your investigative report, would that help refresh your memory?
All right, coming again, object, she hasn't indicated that she needs assistance with her memory.
Okay. What are they getting at? Are they getting at that she did these interviews without? I don't know what, are they trying to say, like, that she's against Sarah? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I just stated that it was either the 26th or 27th.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, Mr. Moats, he was the neighbor living in the apartment, or the connecting apartment, wall apartment with Ms. Boone and Mr. Torres, is that correct?
Yes.
And he's the one who told you about the loud noise, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you interview anyone else in reference to that loud noise?
So I was interviewing Brandon, and then my partner was interviewing Vincent, the other witness, and I came in at the end of the interview with Detective Lowen.
Okay, so that's Vincent. Do you know his last name?
I would butcher it.
Me too, but tag Lowen, something like that. We're talking about the same person?
Yes. Sir.
Okay. And did that interview take place on February the 27th?
Vincent has a very, his last name is difficult to say. I don't even like, it sounds Italian, I think. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Whatever his last name is, I would butcher it as well.
2020.
I believe so. I interviewed witnesses
I don't.
after I interviewed Sarah. The 26th or 27th would be my memory.
Okay, thank you.
Because they're recorded, I would think they probably could interview them alone, but I wonder if they're trying to say, like, she was against Sarah.
And then,
I don't understand. Oh, she was only.
did he also talk to you about a loud noise?
I believe that I was refreshed on the conversation, and yes, he expressed hearing a loud noise as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, and those interviews were actually audio recorded too, is that correct?
Yes, they were.
Now let's go to Ms. Boone's interview. And that would have took place on the 25th, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Boone came down. And ma'am, prior to Ms. Boone coming down for the interview, had y'all made the decision that Ms. Boone was going to be arrested?
Yes, I plan to arrest Sarah Boone.
Okay.
I really feel like they're trying to paint this narrative that Detective caught, like, that she was out to get Sarah. And the evidence just points toward the other person who's there and said that she did all the things. Like, I don't know. She saw the video.
Did you tell Ms. Boone in arranging the meeting that when she
No.
came down there, she was going to be arrested?
No.
I'm going to object this to relevance.
Approach.
Relevance objection. If you have relevance objection, have we already had one of those? We might have already, yeah, we've already had a relevance objection. So if you haven't checked that one off on your Boone Go card, you can go ahead and check that one off. There was another relevance objection before. Sarah was
Ma'am,
not aware.
At that time,
But at the end of her interview, she said, I thought this would happen. Sarah knew that this was a possibility. The detectives intentionally did not want to arrest her in front of her son. So if she had refused to come, if she hadn't showed up to the interview, the detectives were likely going to go and get her to have a conversation, read her rights, and see how she wanted to proceed. It's just okay.
you did not tell Ms. Boone prior to coming down there that she was going to be arrested.
Correct.
Is that correct?
No, I did not.
Okay. Why did you not tell Ms. Boone that she was going to be arrested?
You don't have to.
We plan to meet at 3 p.m. and go over the autopsy and have another interview. So, I mean, I'm not sure why I would tell her that she's going to be arrested. That would potentially cause her to flee, not come. And then we have to go find her and make it more difficult for everyone.
Or potentially get an attorney to come with her.
She had a right to bring an attorney. She had the right to remain silent. She could have asked for an attorney at any point. And Sarah, I don't think she would have got she didn't think she did anything wrong. I'm sorry if I'm yelling a little. She didn't think she did anything wrong.
She was read her rights that said that she has a right to an attorney. And if one cannot be provided for her, she will be appointed one.
I understand that. You read her those rights when she got there. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
You didn't read those rights to her before she got there, though, did she?
The night before.
I wasn't in contact with her, physical contact with her.
Okay. So, but you said potentially for fleeing. My question was, potentially she could have got an attorney too to come with her. Is that not correct?
I misunderstood your question. I didn't hear potentially bring an attorney with her, but yes, I guess she potentially brought an attorney with her.
So Ms. Boone shows up and you tell her there's some things that we need to talk about. Is that correct?
Specific verbiage. I know I said something along the lines of obviously the autopsy had been conducted and there were things that we needed to talk about in regards to that.
And prior to discussing it with her and asking her questions, you did read her Miranda warnings. Is that correct?
Prior to, I'm sorry, one more time.
Before you started asking her questions, though, in this interview, before you started asking Ms. Boone's questions, you read her Miranda warnings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, before I started asking any sort of potentially incriminating questions, she was read her Miranda warnings. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, do you remember as part of the Miranda warnings that you read to Ms. Boone, did you read her the one that states that if you decide to answer?
So I'm laughing a little because the water is to manage the emotion that's bubbling up inside of her right now. Okay. So there is an emotion because they're going to claim that she did something wrong. And as a professional, when somebody says that you did something wrong, when you didn't. So her Miranda warning was, because the only part that wasn't read is having heard these rights, do you freely agree or do you agree to talk to me? Something like that. Like that's the only thing that was left off. And the judge has decided that it didn't violate her rights. So that's where we're about to go right now.
The questions, but want to stop answering and consult with an attorney,
Huh?
you may do so. Do you independently remember reading
Is that the last question? I didn't think that was the last question.
Ms. Boone that instruction?
I don't recall that specific, but I do have my Miranda card on me, but I don't recall that that's what that says. But it is on audio and video recording.
Okay. Thank you.
What she said.
You're welcome.
Now, ma'am, at that point in time,
He moved on. I think he's trying to agitate her. I do think a part of this is him trying to rattle her to make her look less likable, to make her look like she had it in for poor little Sarah Boone. And uh,
Ms. Boone wasn't under arrest. Is that correct?
Ms. Boone was not going to be free to leave once she was in my custody.
It
At
was a
that point in
custodial
time, had
interview.
you told Ms. Boone that she was not free to leave?
No, I did not.
At that point in time, had you told Ms. Boone that she was under arrest?
I told her at the end of the interview.
Okay, before the interview.
No, I did not tell her before the interview.
Ma'am, why didn't you tell her before the interview?
She's already answered that
Your Honor,
question.
I'm going to object as to ask and answer.
Thank
Overruled.
you.
So I have to read her her Miranda warnings, and that's what I did. I do not have to tell her that she's under arrest at that time.
Was there a reason? Could you have told her that she was under arrest
Objection
before me
overruled.
reading her Miranda warning?
Your Honor, I'm going to object as it calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Speculation, objection.
Ma'am, was it a strategic decision not to tell Ms. Boone that she was under arrest prior to reading her those Miranda warnings?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to object as to relevance.
Approach.
Relevance objection. We're going through them today. But the detective did not have to tell her that she was going to be under arrest legally. It's my understanding, not a lawyer.
Ma'am, and we were able to see the video of the interview. As a process of interviewing people, such as Ms. Boone, or well, let me specifically, in the process of interviewing Ms. Boone, is law enforcement free to give information that might not be accurate or true
Yes.
during the interview process?
Yes.
Are you asking if we're allowed to lie to her?
Yes.
Yes, to an extent.
Was that done at any time in this interview?
Did I lie to her? I don't recall lying to her, no.
May I confer, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I thought about being a lawyer. So Natalie, lawyer chick, thought about being a therapist, but went the lawyer route instead. I thought about being a lawyer, but I like the clinical
Need redirect
side better.
examination.
No, Your Honor.
Can this witness be released? State.
Oh,
We have her subject to recall.
Subject to
no. No redirect. Wait a minute. Are we
Might
going
be
here
released
now?
subject to recall. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
State any other witnesses, evidence, or testimony to be produced.
Your Honor, at this time, state would rest.
Members of the jury, it is 10:22 a.m. I have some matters with counsel that I need to address. So we're going to excuse you for a short while. It's a great opportunity for us to take our morning break as well. Similar instruction that I've given to you over the last couple of days. Please do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or anyone else. Do not conduct any independent research or investigation as the person, places, things, or charge involved in this case. We'll bring you back in as promptly as possible. Thank you.
Jury exiting.
The state is being so efficient on this case because the defense didn't really do anything. Like, they just asked her, did you meet with Sarah? Yes. Like, did you ask her questions? Yes. Was she free to leave? No. You were going to arrest her? Yes. Why didn't you tell her you were going to arrest her? Because that's not what we do. Like, it was so odd. And so I need to go pop my popcorn, and then we are going to get into whatever's being discussed and hop into Sarah Boone's testimony. All right. So give me about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna schedule the next stream for 10:30. I might be just a few seconds behind. All right, because I really am. I'm popping my popcorn. So going ahead and grab some water. We are going to be in for the ride, and it's not because this is entertaining. So I changed my color. I normally have blue behind me. October is domestic is DV awareness month, and to me, George was a male victim of like mutual DV. I think he was also an aggressor sometimes. I think things would get out of control. I think he had every right to leave and she had every right to leave. And together there was this trauma bond. And because she's over here in her interview saying, I saved him. I'm the reason why he's, doing so well now. His probation officer loves me. Like she's saying and doing all these things. And it's so sad. And so justice for George. That's why we're here. I will see you all in just a few minutes. You'll be redirected to the next stream. Let's have a good one. Bye.